Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. Let's do that intro again because I didn't see the thing populate the way it should have. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. There we go. All right. So on this video, we're gonna be talking about people in their video essays, right? You know, and Mr. Z is gonna sound a bit like a hypocrite today, but such is life. Okay. Um, Something, because I've been going over some of my own content, and I've been going over others' content, people's content, and I realized something. For those of us that are somewhat more intellectually inclined, um, maybe for some of us that are college dropouts, for some of us who are actually entertained by finding out more things or bolstering our point of view anyway, um, or we just want to know random things and we like a particular personality online, there are video essays, particularly for those of us on the political left. And these video essays can range from 15 to 20 minutes to damn 3 hours, right? And what I've seen with video essay after video essay after video essay produced mainly from the left is the undercurrent of misandry, the implied misandry, the explicit misandry, the suggested misandry. And what ends up happening oftentimes is these people will recite a quote, they will mention a philosopher, a historian, um, someone that moved the society socially, um, anyone who furthers their point, right? So it could be a politician, it could be any number of people, right? So the appeal to authority, which again is a logical fallacy, but Mr. Z engages in that also, so I can't be mad at them for that, right? Now, the title is Video Essays Made Me Do It. Now, for some of us, we're getting college courses on the cheap just for your internet access, right? That's what you're that is what you are doing when you listen to these people speak. You like the person anyway. Um, they're telling you something that you already want to hear, confirming some biases, and Mr. Z doesn't put himself above this either. Um, and so what you have now for women in general, because if you want, you ain't seen video essays yet until you see video essays for women, all women, right? Western women, but particularly for Black women. Black bread tube, and FD said this, and he is so right. Black bread tube, and that's lefty produced content online, is just women. It's like a handful of straight heterosexual cisgender men, but it's pretty much all women, right? And there's a undercurrent of misandry. Now, sorry, Fab Socialism, I got to use your quote again. When Fab Socialism says, "Why are so many radical Black women with white men?" Once again, I spoke of the biases. I don't think they really ever really contended with their anti-Blackness, right? They've intellectualized their misandry towards Black men, but for you to magically always end up with white men, for you to always magically end up being attracted to white men, for you to say, well, it was white men, once again sounding like Mindy Kaling, it was white men that found me attractive, or the first person to ever compliment my beauty was a white man, or the men of my own race don't appreciate my beauty, or that they never were attracted to me, or they never tried to speak to me, etc., etc. You have a lot of content creators, these video essayists, these social commentators, these social influencers, who would rail against the patriarchy. They will rail against men of their own race. They will imply and suggest things sometimes overtly say it, but somehow they end up with the same white men that perpetuate the patriarchy anyway, although on the political left. Huh, interesting. All right. What you find is these video essayists, they are biased themselves. Clearly. Cool. All human beings are. And they create content for air quotes people, women, and the people, women, that listen to them then come out in the world and start trying to spew that to people like us, men, black men in particular. And it's important that we understand the Kim from Four Harriets, right? Um, and all of these other video essayists, the Khadijas, right? And Mr. Z is going to give y'all a list. I'm working on it. It's a long list of bread tubers in general, but specifically the black bread tubers list isn't as long, obviously, but it's still pretty damn long, right? And the reason why this matters is because these are the people you're coming into contact with. You're coming into contact with young women, women who, while they're at work, while they're typing in their cubicle, they're listening to these people, right? And they're justifying their biases and their anti-black behavior, their anti-black male sentiments through these video essays. They're only couching it as intellectualism. Well, how is it that all of y'all are ending up under the Mr. Z? How is it that all of you that are consuming this content, and all of you, figurative speech, it's not all of you literally. I gotta, you gotta put the disclaimer because there's gonna be somebody that says it's not all of us. How is it that all of you are somehow magically ending up in the crotch area of white men while you listen to these video essays? Huh. Mainly lefty white men. Huh. Do y'all see a theme going on with Mr. Z's channel right now? It all ends up in the crotch area of white men, right? No matter which angle you come from, pun intended, you still end up in the crotch area of white guys. Whether it's the divestors, whether it's some of the hood sisters, whether it's other women of color that are non-black, right? Whether it's intelligent and intellectual black women, whether it's your run-of-the-mill, everyday, working class, lower middle class, poor black woman, or oftentimes other women of color that are not white. No pause, Trell Bentley. No, I'm into this vulgar as it sounds, right? Somehow, magically, we end up in the crotch region of white dudes. Somehow, right? And for all of these intelligent, educated people, these people that were working on their masters before they dropped out, or they got their masters, or they were working on their PhD before they dropped out, right? But they got their, excuse me, they were working on their masters before they dropped out, but at least they have their bachelor's, or they're working on their PhD before they dropped out, but at least they have their masters. They get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views. They speak on what's going on in this country, culturally, socially, politically. They bring up themes and notions going back centuries, if not millennia, oftentimes decades. Like I said earlier, they bring up philosophers, politicians, historians, social critiquers, movers and shakers from the past, all to paint a picture, and that picture often ends up in the crotch area of white people, white men in particular. Right? And when Mr. Z says that, understand what Mr. Z is saying. Where Real talk, what Yanni is saying it louder and louder and more. Chrissy is being very blatant about it. Paris, even though she's with a black man, she's open about this conversation. Where you have that, where you have the Lexus Exodus and the Mahogany Pinks who are neo Nazis about this, end up with a non-black man. But obviously the white man is the gold standard, right? That's the gold standard. That's the trophy. That's the gold trophy, right? Although they're very blatant and in your face about it. And Kim from Fort Harriet is with the black man, but what I recently found out is that she has, you know, went to prom with white dude, and she say that black boys in her college and her, excuse me, black boys in her high school weren't interested, they weren't checking, so she was almost forced to end up with a white boy, which is the theme you hear up once again. This is Ostefco, and this is Mindy Kaling, and this is a number of East Asian women and South Asian women and black women and Latina women. Somehow the men of your race are not interested, and you end up going to prom or not going to prom with a white dude. Yeah. Somehow the first shout out to Uchechi, somehow the first person to ever compliment your looks or the first male to compliment your looks was a white male. Of course, it's yeah, yes, women of color, yes. Okay. What Mr. Z is saying is that you have the very loud, the very obnoxious swirlers and divestors who are very blatant about their white male worship, right? Or their disdain for black men specifically. Then you have your intelligentsia, your intellectual class, your social commentators, once again, your video essayists, who don't overtly say anything negative about black men most of the time, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what's implied through their content is that somehow men need to step up. Men are deficient, men are boys. But, and they'll sometimes concede this, but the way white supremacy works, right? And you saw this with the street harassment campaign. Let me make a pivot real quick to give y'all this example. When the criticism of the street harassment campaign was, this is way men of color. What is going on? You're walking through New York and it's only men of color that's trying to holler at you or that's trying to dog dog whistle at you or whatever it is, right? They're the only ones. There's no white men. What they conceded was, well, white men have money and they have status, so they don't really approach women the same way. Why is Mr. Z using that example? Let's turn to the left. Because these people will concede that white men in the society may not necessarily move the same way, operate the same way, comport themselves the same way because of this money and power and status and just white being a white, straight, what they call them, cishet men, cisgender heterosexual men. Um, so they may not comport themselves the same way, but the end goal oftentimes is the same. Now, if you concede that point, then how is it that so many of you have a thing for white dudes and end up with white dudes? Cat call. Thank you very much, right? Thank you, Trell Bentley. I couldn't get it. I don't know why I said dog. Right? Thank you, Trell. Right? What is Mr. Z saying here? These people are just recreating white supremacy in their little circles, in their little bubbles. Something I told the brother FD, and at least he acted like he never really considered it or never put much thought to it. He might have, and he was just, blowing smoke up my rear end. Or he possibly really couldn't have, which is a lot of these people are animated by childhood trauma of rejection or not being desirable, right? A lack of desirability or not feeling desired by the boys when they were younger. I'm specifically saying boys to make sure that we understand that these people are in their 20s and 30s and they're still traumatized by not being desired, or so they say, by the boys they desired when they were 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 years old as a child in high school and in middle school. So I make sure to always emphasize that, because what we're finding is a growing example of young women who, when they speak, they go back to, once again, 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18 years old, and who wasn't seeking to speak to them or to date them or to court them when they were a child and this young man was a child. Very important. You fast forward 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, maybe even 20 years later. And now you have people that are creating content on social media, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, right? Whether it's Facebook. And these people are now content creators. And they have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of viewers and subscribers and followers. And all they've done with their college degree, whether it's 4 years, 6 year, 8 year, all they've done with their college degree is just recreate white supremacy with their video essays and their commentary. They may speak about what's going on politically in this country. Most of the time, it's social commentary. And they speak about desirability. And they speak about feminism and women, right? And womanism. They speak about the LGBTQ movement. They speak about men. They speak about the patriarchy. And all of it comes back down to the white the white male's erect penis, right? That all comes back to the white male's penis. And I really was trying to find this quote from Trell Bentley because I said something earlier and he was like, "Damn!" And now I'm thinking about white male's flaccid penis. I think it was Trell Bentley that said that, and I think it's hysterical because exactly that's what's on their mind. There we go. There go the comment. Now I got visions of a pale, flaccid phallus. Exactly. I've said this before. I'm going to continue to say this. If you integrate, if the system is white supremacist and racist, it was founded on white supremacy, white people being the dominant, white people being the leaders, white people this, white people that, the greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest. And you integrate people of color, namely primarily black people, namely primarily ADOS, FBA, into that system. You do just enough fixes on the margins where these people can't outright murder people on the streets and get away with it. And even that's questionable. We have too many examples of it actually happening. You make just enough, the very smallest of changes on the margins, right? With the education system, you barely change the education system on the absolute margins, where now black children can enter these white institutions and not be stoned to death. Kind of. What do we think is going to happen with the children, that end up spending decades in these institutions, right? Let's say you don't go to preschool. You spend from the age of 4 and 5 years old to 18 years old in these institutions. It doesn't matter if your teachers were mainly black women. Actually, that might make it worse, right? Let's say you did go to preschool. You spend from 3, 4 years old to 18 years old in these institutions. Then you go to college. So that's up to 22, 23 years old, right? Then you go get your master's. Now we have 25, 26, maybe 27 years old. Let's say you're a PhD. At the earliest, we may be, not the earliest, we do have some geniuses that get out by 30. But now we're looking at, let's say you went straight through 32, 31 years old, 33 years old. You're approved for your PhD program. You do it. You have the money, or you have the means to be out of school finally by 35 years old. You spent 30 years in the white education system. 30 at the least. So now you're a video essayist and we expect you to produce what type of content? Why do you think you're above it? Why? Because you're air quotes educated? Come on now. Yeah, you're educated and also indoctrinated, and what you're producing is recreating the same white supremacist system that you rail against. That's why you have a white boyfriend, or that's why you have a white lover, or that's why you're cheating on your black boyfriend or black husband with the white guy that you work with. Oops. Or that's why your ideal man is a white liberal man. We're not speaking about the conservatives today. Your ideal personality archetype is a white liberal man, a white artsy man, right? What's um the actor Deadpool, the actual actor that's playing Deadpool right now? What's his name again? That guy. Him and Robert Downey Jr. You know the dudes that's got the quick one-liners, the witty, yeah, those guys. All you did was just take what you rail against and just recreate it in your own mind. Bentley, that's what it is. So Bentley says 30 years indoctrinated. That's what it is, right? Ryan Reynolds, thank you, Trail Bentley. Ryan Reynolds, that's their ideal dude. That's why they were so heartbroken by the try guy that cheated on his wife with the Asian woman, right? Yeah, Destiny without the blue hair. Destiny could still pull women of color left and right with the blue hair. He dropped the blue hair, go to the gym for 3 months, and he pulling all the women of color. I live in South Florida. I know the Destinies, especially with that whole placating thing he's doing right now. Yeah, he'll pull all the women of color, easy, easy, right? And the reason why this matters, tying this back to the video essays, is when you have a conversation about desirability, right? And I still haven't checked out Khadijah's video about this yet. I have two more videos probably to cover. I know shout out to Brianna Joy Gray. She has a it's probably streaming right now actually. Video up with Jason Miles from This Is Revolution and FD Signifier and a couple and Katie Halper and another young lady that I don't know, I never heard of her, about Valentine's Day and dating and relationships and all this other stuff, intimacy. Um, so I'm gonna probably review that, and then obviously Khadijah's video about desirability. That's gonna be fun, right? I bet I know where that's going, right? But the reason why I bring up these video essays and the video essayists and what they're creating and producing with the way they critique masculinity and manhood, which ends up being overly critical of how men of color primarily perform masculinity. And this is what I need to stress. This is the part I actually probably should have started with. It's overly critical of the way men of color perform masculinity, right? And it allows for these air quotes liberal white guys that still be playing y'all and being air quotes womanizers too, made up word by women that dudes that cheat and just have sex with women. But okay, whatever. It lets them off the hook in many ways, as long as they can whisper sweet nothings to you about female supremacy and how smart women are and how much better women are and women's work ethic and women's morality. It's Derek Jackson but white. It's FD Signifier but fit and white. Right? It's Destiny. Fit without the blue hair. There's nothing wrong with having an ideal. Nothing wrong with having a preference. Right? But why is all y'all preference and ideal a white dude? When women of color, primarily black women, mock black men for their preferences, who's the one with the preference though? And who's the one with the white ideal preference? Huh. Or pretty much wants a chocolate dip white guy, white liberal dude, someone that comports themselves and speaks and acts and have the same sentiments of a liberal white guy, right? If Ben Shapiro was liberal, boy, his wife couldn't keep them black women and Latinas off of him. Especially how quick he speaks. Oh, right. And the reason why this matters, and the reason why Mr. Z is tying this to the video essays, that's so random, Mr. Z. What are you doing here? What I'm saying is these people are recreating the same thing they think they're fighting against while speaking about it. The European beauty standard, right? While they're critiquing it, their ideal is the same thing, vindicating anyone. Prime example. Kim from Fort Harriet has so much smoke for black men, yet you're going to prom when you were a kid with a white dude, and you're still thinking about it, and you're still recently, no, not so recently, speaking about how the black boys weren't checking for you in high school, but you went to Harvard, Miss Fort Harriet, Miss Kim Foster. You attended Harvard. Harvard, the most connected, wealthy, accomplished white men on the planet, definitely in this country, definitely from the United States of America. Where's your white husband and boyfriend now? Miss Kim from Fort Harriet says she's attracted to black men, and that's why she's with a black man, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't doubt that if Kim from Fort Harriet wanted to be with the white dude, she could be with the white dude. But where is he now, though? Right? I really, because I was thinking about me mentioning Miss Amanda Marianne, right? And I'm thinking about her ideal of what she was speaking about, the men that were written by women, right? The written by women men. And the two examples she gave were white dudes, and pretty much all the examples she gave were white guys. And she herself mentioned these are white, cishet men or white heterosexual men. She herself. So once again, like Mr. Z told y'all before, the little tacit punch, the little soft punch, the little jab at white supremacy. They take little jabs at white supremacy every once in a while, but their ideal man and the way the ideal man comports himself and speaks is a white guy. And even if they're into black men, it's a black man that acts like a white liberal guy. And even if they're Latino, it's a Latino that acts like a white liberal guy. And if it's an Asian, it's an Asian dude that acts like a white liberal guy. And if it's a Middle Eastern dude, it's a Middle Eastern dude that acts like a white liberal guy. I think there's a theme here. Huh. European beauty standard, right? What about European ideals of comportment and attitude and thought process and mannerisms? Whoops. So many women who fashion themselves as intellectuals or that care about these type of things, what's going on socially, politically, economically, not really, but definitely socially, kind of politically, particularly women of color, they consume these video essays. Like I said, they're sitting in their cubicles listening to these things with their headphones on, right? And they think they're above it. Meanwhile, huh, So, y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Why is it important that I bring this to y'all today? I want y'all to pay attention when you come across, if your algorithm is not all the way messed up, when you come across some of these content creators with their hour-long video essays, their 20, 30-minute long video essays, hour and a half long video essays, 2 hour long video essays, where they cover different subjects, they speak to different people, they cross-pollinate with different people, right? Just pay attention to the underlying theme, especially the social commentary, especially the commentary about intimacy, desirability, beauty standards, right? All of that. You know, if the ideal student currently in America is a white woman, white girl, excuse me, the ideal student, the perfect student, and the way the whole entire education system over the past 50 or so years, 60 years, has refashioned itself to be most beneficial to a white little girl. What do we think that means for Black women, Latina women, indigenous women, Asian women, and the way they think they feel? What do we think the education system that's best and most suited for white little girls and white women, what do we think that means for the men of color, the boys of color? What is Mr. Z saying? What we're seeing created in these video essays from these Black women is just a recreation of white women, just curry dipped, just chocolate dipped, just sake dipped, just egg roll dipped. Well, I mean, you could put egg rolls in dip, right? Yes. Right? Shout out to Trell Bentley with the comment, 30 years indoctrinated, pretty much. Right? And what he had as soul says, thank you once again, Toya, for the correction. Right? What he had as soul says, Z, did you see the tweets from Black women on Jonathan Major having civil rights face? Shay Sade put it in her community post. I'm gonna address that in 1 minute. Right? I'm gonna address that in 1 minute because there's actually let me leave your comment up for a second. Sorry, but let's leave that up. Yes. So um what Mr. Z is getting at is that we have educated, intelligent people, truly educated, truly talented people. And this system isn't providing them with certain opportunities financially. So they go out and they do their creative thing. These are the once again the social commentators, the video essays, these are creatives in this space. They have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of followers. They're now at this point in their life, their livelihood is based off of this content creation, right? So it's just going to keep on recreating itself because, you know, the people that consume their content want more of this type of content. And so you have these people who are truly intelligent, truly educated, but also indoctrinated. And as much as they critique, excuse me, getting my words mixed up, getting tongue tied there, as much as they critique white supremacy and critique the European beauty standard and critique capitalism, right? As much as these people say they're lefties, right? As much as these people fit somewhere in the bread tube space, when it comes to intimacy and relationships, when it comes to their ideal man, it's a white man. Why does that matter? Because the content you create shows that. It exemplifies that. The content you create is evident of that. The way you speak is evident of that. How is it that we have Maxine Waters, we have Oprah, right? We have Michelle Obama, we even have Kamala Harris, right? We have all of these educated Black women, all of these Black women from yesteryear that sound like Black people. They sound like Black women. Now, we may disagree with them politically, right? Y'all could throw in Condoleezza Rice in there. Y'all could throw in Susan Rice in there. They sound like black women. As much as we have an issue with them, they comport themselves like mama them. But after you get under a certain age, what we have is chocolate dip white women who sound like white women, who are mad and have an issue with the fact that they're not connecting with the black men, so they say, the black boys, so they say, but yet you're a chocolate dip white woman. Let me address Kim from For Harriet with that statement. If you are in, forget what you say you say you was on, right? You say you wanted a black boy to approach you, you would have loved it, but you end up going to prom with the white dude. If you're in these white environments and the black boys are in these white environments and y'all both taking a white person to prom, what's the difference? But I wanted him. Yeah, you say that, but y'all both took a white person to prom. What's the difference? Well, when I was walking through high school, I saw all the black boys with white girls. You still end up going to prom with a white dude. What's the difference? You could tell me how you felt all you want. The end result is he's at prom. The black boy is at prom with the white girl, and the black girl, you Kim from For Harriet, are at prom with the white boy. What's the difference? Why does Mr. Z bring that up? To say the end result is still women of color, black women in this case, because we're black, ending up with the white dude, or the ideal man being whatever man of color they choose that speaks and comport himself and has the same mannerisms and the same humor and the same interest as name your white liberal guy. The same speech pattern, enunciates his words. Name your white liberal guy. Right? Now, going to Shay Sade's comment. Thank you once again. Let's read it again. What he had as soul. Z, did you see the tweets from black women from, I think you mean black, from a black woman, on Jonathan Majors having a civil rights face? Shay Sade put it in her community post. Now that could be just a random joke. I've heard other people or read other comments. I'm almost certain it's not from the same woman that you read it from, that Shay Sade put up. Excuse me. Um, but I've seen a comment similar. Right now, I will rewind to maybe a few weeks ago when I told y'all Paris Milan was speaking about how Jonathan Majors isn't that attractive. Yeah, he might have a nice body, but he's ugly as hell and blah blah blah. And she was insulting him and doing the whole sister girl thing. And um, black women in her comment section were approving of this message and they was clapping it up for her. And yeah, and Paris Milan came out of her mouth and said, "Y'all just finding these dudes attractive just because they're black." Mr. Z had to pause on that one. A black woman telling other black women that they find particular black men attractive just because they're black. Whoa, okay. Just because these black men are black. Yeah, this is where we are now in the black community, y'all. Right? This is where we are in the black community, y'all. The same women that listen to Paris, listen to Amanda Marianne. They listen to Real Talk with Yanni. They listen to Cat Black. Cat Black is the trans person, right? They listen to Kim from For Harriet, right? They listen to um Ostefco, but they also listen to Julesy. And they also listen to Nappy Headed Hoba. And they also listen to Khadijah and T Noor. There's a bunch of rest of them, right? These same people consume the same content. In Big Game, what's going on, Big Game? Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Big Game says they're saying he's not attractive because he has, air quotes, black features. Exactly. Exactly. These same people, these same women who complain and chastise black men for, supposedly for not liking broad noses and kinky hair and darker skin, right? And fuller lips. Really, these brothers just want y'all to lose weight. That's the part y'all don't ever want to mention. Unless y'all saying to be big is to be black. Low key, that's what y'all be saying, but okay. Right? These same women, once again, that say black men have an issue with darker skin tones, fuller lips, kinkier hair, darker eye colors, right? Hips and rear end buttocks, right? These same women then turn around and say Jonathan Majors isn't attractive for the exact same reason. Thank you for getting right to it, Big Game, because he has black features. Right? And what he had as soul also says, put this up, like he has oh, excuse me, like he's 1950s fine. And there you go. By the way, these same women, like we said, that listen to Paris, listen to the video, the women that produce all the video essays on the other side. Right? And that's a great example. Let's go. Osario Cortez with the white man. They talk all this crap about white supremacy, right? They push back on these entitled, what they call them, marginal white dudes. That's not the term. The extra average, extraordinary white guys, the mediocre, that's the word. They call them mediocre white men, right? They have an issue with all of these mediocre white men that are excelling in the society just because they're white and they're men and they're straight. Meanwhile, these same black women be giving it up to those dudes after work on lunch break. Whoopsie. Meanwhile, these same black women be low-key fiending to be approved of by these white guys. They're cheating on their black husbands and boyfriends with these white guys. Hey, y'all should have never gave this Negro the internet, right? Y'all should have never gave this Negro the internet. Why, Mr. Z? Because like Mr. Z says all the time, the internet will expose us all. No, in reality, we will expose ourselves on the internet. Exhibit A. Right? We have to have a real conversation about how women of color, but because we're black women specifically, have internalized white supremacist tropes about themselves, about men of their own race and community and ethnicity, how they have internalized European beauty standards, European ideals of class, European ideals of luxury, European ideals of how you comport yourself, right? European ideals of behavior, etc., etc. You can't critique black men for having a European beauty standard while you want to live the Victorian or Regency era life that a handful of white women got to live at that time. You can't critique and criticize black men, right? And wanting to be, supposedly wanting to be white capitalist men and wanting to recreate white patriarchy while low key you want that same patriarchy. It's a clip Ed played last night on his stream. I think it was last night. I think it was from The Crew, where the young lady was pretty much saying, I, we shouldn't have to struggle with y'all no more, right? And I'm paraphrasing. We shouldn't have to be in poverty with y'all no more. Y'all asking us to stay in poverty. And Ed was correct when he said that's not even where the young man was going. Y'all make it, these particular women make it seem like if you're not living in ostentatious wealth, right? If you're not at least solidly in the upper middle class, then you're absolutely struggling. You're practically living under a bridge. There is no solidly middle class or working class where you're not actually struggling, not necessarily. For them, it's either upper middle class, that top 10, 15%, at worst top 20%, or nothing. I'm going to tie this to the video essays in a minute. That is what Mr. Z is speaking about. A upper middle class white woman's ideal of life, of lifestyle. Well, what do you think was going to happen when black women just took white feminism and painted it black? Particularly the black women that are not LGBTQ. What did we think was going to happen? When women of color took the Faustian bargain with white women and white men, jumped on the white feminist train, painted it whatever color or race they are. Excuse me, let me say that again. Painted it whatever color of race they are, and then use that to critique the men of their race. Use that as the lens to view the men of their race. What did we think was going to happen? Now you have the young lady on this video that Ed played sounding like an upper middle class or rich white woman. This is what happens. Now, the difference between the way she speaks and maybe someone that's more intelligent, more educated, a little bit more coy, is that they will imply certain things and suggest certain things. And it always ends up, shout out to Trell Bentley, in the crotch region of some white dude. Why do you sound so vulgar about it, Mr. Z? Why can't you just say they end up with the white man? It doesn't sound vulgar enough. Let's call it what it is. White phallus worship because of white lifestyle. They want the lifestyle. They critique white men because they're mad that the white man ain't checking for the masses of black women. This is how you get the insider article. It doesn't matter if it's crystalline kerosene all the way to Kim from Fort Harriet. You still end up in the crotch region of a white dude. Now, once again, from what Kim from Fort Harriet is telling us, she's only dating black dudes. She's only attracted to primarily black guys. Cool. A white woman that's attracted to black men. Okay, whatever. Mr. Z, you know you said white woman, right? I know what I said. A white liberal woman that dates black dudes. You know, Lisa Nepalelli used to date black dudes too. God damn, Mr. Z. She's married to a white man now, though. Yikes. I can't remember homegirl name. Jewish chick, or she just white. Oh, her face is right there. She used to date 50. Who was the white chick that 50 used to date? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who I'm speaking about. I forget her. I forget her name. Her face is right there. I forget her name. Used to date 50, right? This is what happened when women of color go without being critiqued. Not made fun of, but being critiqued, being looked over and really seeing what pathologies do you have. Let's pause on the men for 1 second. What negative ideas and notions do you have? Chelsea Handler. Thank you very much, Indigo Flow. Chelsea Handler, yes. What's the difference between Chelsea Handler and the way you see some of these black women act online, the more articulate and educated and intelligent of them? The shrewd liberals, right? These black women think they're a black Doria. Y'all remember the cartoon with the black girl with the circle glasses, and she was sarcastic as hell. She was feminist as hell. Many of these black women have just fashioned themselves as her, and then wonder why they can't connect with a black dude, and then wonder why they just a side piece of some upper middle class left leaning liberal dude. Right? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, no, Toya, I could see your comments. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you said it also. Yeah, Chelsea Handler. Yes, Chelsea Handler. Thank you everybody for giving that to me. Thank you. Right? When I start going, I'm not looking at the screen, so every once in a while I miss your comments. Oh, Charles Bentley says Daria. Sorry. And Big Game says Daria. Yes, y'all remember the cartoon, right? And we're interacting with these women who have truly not been looked the way they think about men, particularly men of their own race, how they come to the conclusions, because all it is just a chocolate dip black woman critiquing black men, a chocolate dip white woman critiquing black men, and they come to very racist conclusions, but because they're black women and they may not say it as virulently or as disgustingly as a white woman from a century ago, they think they're different. You're not different. You're not different than Margaret Sanger. You're not. Elizabeth K. Stan, you're not different than them. You're not. You're not even as different from the divestors as you think you are. Yes, you produce video essays, but you know who else does? Lexus Exodus. Ooh, goddamn, Mr. Z. Y'all come to the same conclusion just from different angles. You won't say openly, this is why black men are bad, this is why you should date outside your race. You won't overtly say that, and she will. That's the difference. But the content you produce pretty much leads your audience, your subscribers, your followers to come to that conclusion. That's why their ideal man, their ideal mate is the cis het white man that y'all claim that y'all have an issue with. Y'all end up in the same white patriarchal household you claim you have an issue with. What is truly the difference between Kim from Fort Harriet and Lexus Exodus? What Kim from Fort Harriet won't overtly say it, but didn't she say, let's bring back these Negroes ain't ish feminism? And the difference between her and Lexus Exodus is what now? The difference between her and Crystal and Kerosene is what now? What's the difference? What is the difference? Right? If Khadijah says essentially, you straight women, y'all gotta go deal with that over there because I don't what's the difference between Khadijah and a white LGBTQ feminist? Intersectional, what is the difference? If Khadijah can spout out all of these theories and ideals of what a relationship should be, meanwhile, she don't have to deal with the consequences of her ideology because she's not dealing with straight men, particularly straight black men. What's the difference between her and a white feminist, LGBTQ feminist? What is the difference? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Right? Shout out to Juicy, who's probably the person that I would probably tend to agree with more than pretty much all the rest of them. But when Juicy tells these women to lean on their networks more and maybe, you know, not lean on this romantic ideal, this love, this, because, how relationships work in America, particularly in the black community. What's the difference between Juicy and what the white women are saying? Right? What's the show that was playing in the 90s and the early aughts that all those white women were all over with the supposed powerful white women? The intro song is stuck in my head, but I can't remember the name of it. Right? What's the difference between what Juicy's advocating for and what that show was on? Women leaning on their network. What's the difference between what Juicy was saying and pretty much every black movie in the 90s? Particularly Waiting to Excel. Leaning on your network, right? If these black women, these video essays, these commentators, these social critiquers, these, especially the ones in the bread tube space, the left, right? If they're still ending up with the same conclusion that black men aren't stepping up, black men aren't present enough, black men aren't kissing my rear end, black men don't want to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, which is essentially make them into a white patriarch without the patriarch, or white, want them to recreate white patriarchy without the patriarch. If Sex in the City, what he had is soul, thank you. Everything, all those words mixed matched, right, was coming to my head. I couldn't get the actual phraseology there. I'm thinking about all the women in that TV show. I'm thinking about the title, but with the words scrambled, and I couldn't get it out. Because I knew if I could actually get it out, then you guys would know what I was speaking. Thank you. Sex in the City. Thank you. What he had his soul. Right? If we're still coming to the same conclusion, which is black men ain't ish, whether it's overtly, explicitly said or not. Because guess what? The recent video with Themis and Crystal and Kerosene on Crystal and Kerosene's channel, they never said black men ain't ish. They never said it. But David Sterling never said the N word with the hard ER either. And everybody knew the message. David Sterling, when he was speaking about the Clippers, Or when he was speaking to B. Stiviano about bringing other black men to his games, palling around with other players, you know he never said the N word. On both tapes, he never said the N word. But the message was clear now, wasn't it? Likewise, Crystalline Kerosene and Themis never said black men ain't ish. They talked around it, they implied it, they suggested it, but they never said it. Right? These video essays, likewise, whether they realize it or not, they never say white liberal masculinity is the ideal masculinity. White placating liberals, the destinies of the world, are the ideal. Outside of the swirlers and wannabe swirlers, they never say Ryan Reynolds is the ideal, right? Robert Downey Jr. without the coke habit is the ideal. They rarely say that, if ever say it. You let them talk long enough, though. They'll imply it, they'll suggest it. It's up to you to glean from that what you will, right? Is this all black women? No, actually, no. Most black women? No, actually, not on this one. No. A loud, influential minority of black women. Ding, 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 ding. A loud, influential group of women of color. Ding, 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 ding. Whether they realize it or not, all they're asking men of color to be are just white liberal men. Right? And Lord Juno asked, Mr. Z, did you check out the new CDC report regarding teen female and male recently? Would like for you to unpack it. No. Put the link in the comments of this video. You could either actually put it in the comments after the video. Oh, you could put it in the comments now, not the live comments, but the actual comment section. And what did it say? Let me say. Well, let me see what you said. It's Mr. Z CDC's 2021 Youth Risk Behavior Survey show startling trends. Nearly 3 in 5 teen girls, 57%, said they felt persistently sad or hopeless. That's the highest rate in a decade. Well, that might there. I think that yeah. Send me that. Send me that. That might be something to look over, right? But there's a couple of reasons for that. Clearly, once again, how we speak to these young people. Secondly, these young people, particularly I mean, first, let's remember COVID-19. So COVID-19 just changed the world, right? Many people staying at home, online schooling, not mingling with people. We already had the atomization of society anyway, particularly in the West, particularly in America. So that just exacerbated the atomization of our society, right? Um, yeah, right. That's number one. But number two, you're going to see this. You're going to see this more and more. The kinship network, the African kinship network, or the hive model that Nameless speaks of, or the African kinship network that BGS speaks of, or leaning on just your women friends. Y'all ever see when a woman posts something, she may not be traditionally attractive to many of us, but other women are bigging her up. They're bigging her up, and you know she loves those compliments, but it's not enough. It's the men she wants to compliment her. It's the men she wants in her DMs. We're going to see more of that. It's fast food for the soul. Women complimenting other women It's fast food for the soul. And all you just told me is that these young girls and these women are getting patted on the back, they're getting thumbs up from other women, from other girls. And we've told the boys they can't do that because sexism, because you're doing too much, because you're making her feel uncomfortable, because of street harassment. And those younger men and boys hear that. And we, let's be honest, our society has even shamed the whole DM thing. I wonder how much these young women are really getting DM'd, especially by the men they find attractive and the boys they find attractive. So you're going to see more of that. These women are going to feel more isolated and alone. And it's going to cause them to be depressed. But it's for the same things they advocate for. Yikes. Once again, the social math. The math ain't mathing. Right? And Spainman said, I'd guess Travis Kelce is the ideal man. For some, because Travis Kelce is just a chocolate dip, a white dip brother. That's all it is. And for some, yes, for some, for many, right? But for some of those ladies, they want that understated. Um, they want the Clark Kent of white men, kind of understated, mild mannered, right? Reserve wealth. They want ostentatious wealth, but they want to exhibit it the same way those upper middle class women do, the rich women do, the rich white women, excuse me, do, right? The if you know type money, or the if you know show of money, right? It looks like a regular pair of jeans, but the people that know that's like a $250 pair of jeans. These look like some regular shoes, but if you know these are like some $300 diesels or some crap. Givenchy, whatever, right? So yes, there's the women of color, primarily black women, that'll be attracted to Mr. Kelce. And then there's the others. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? And Lord Juno says, Mr. Z, also to add, 30% said they have seriously considered self-deletion, right? A percentage that's risen by nearly 60% over the past decade. Of course. You ask the women to be men and still be women. That's for the non-LGBTQ feminists. You ask them to be men and still women. Go out there, compete with the men. We're gonna rig the game against the men. We're gonna rig the game in your favor as women, but still go out there, out compete them. And for those of you that still want a man and be in a relationship, there you go. You ask the women to be men and women. Oh, I forgot. I'm speaking in binary. This is some very heteronormative conversation that I'm doing, that I'm engaging in. Whoops, my bad. And it's killing the women. They're angry. The women are angry. I would like to direct y'all to the video I covered of the white woman snarling at the camera, speaking about, we've done the work. These men are not on our level. Where's our men? The men are not on our level. When she was kind of celebrating men feeling lonely. First of all, like I said, let's not play down the atomization of society overall, right? And it's affecting men and women similarly and differently at the same time. So that's the overarching conversation, the atomization of the society, which has been more beneficial for the capitalists. Mr. Z got to get in his lefty bag. I'm sorry, y'all. The atomization of the society is best for the capitalists. They like that. So that's the overarching issue. Then we could get into the way the society is currently structured and what the feminists have done with this iteration of female empowerment and how it has affected the women. And this is where you get the kind of marriage in hell of capitalism and feminism, and then putting women in the position to compete with and then attempt to outcompete their men and then still look for a husband or a boyfriend for those of them that are so inclined. The unholy matrimony of feminism and capitalism, especially the neoliberal brand of capitalism, the market valuation of everything brand of capitalism. You mix that with feminism and it's open competition on everything, right? You celebrate the dog eat dog world on everything, nothing sacred. Well, you get this. You get this. Right? The Take, which is a feminist leaning publication on YouTube, they were right about this one thing. All that manifest talk, that's people breaking. That's women in particular, but that's people breaking. That's people breaking. That's that's I've done the work. I've put in the time. I've gone to school, and I still got no money and no man, and I don't have the lifestyle and what I want. Now we already know what they want is delusional. I'm about to touch on that in 1 second. But I've done all of these things, and I still only earn however amount of dollars an hour. I still live at home with my parents. I'm still barely making it. That's where these women are. And then that's how you also get the rise of F reality. What's wrong with delusion? F reality, let's stay in delusion. F reality, let's be delusional. That's how you get the rise of that. Not just the language, because you don't see so many, at least on YouTube, you don't see so many of those videos. It was kind of heavy on TikTok for about a month. But that sentiment, oh, that sentiment is heavy. Right? This is why y'all saw Mr. Z so irate when I was speaking about that Insider article and Chrissy playing damage control. And now Theme is playing damage control. And Crystalline Karazin playing damage control. Because they were selling a product. And that product isn't working for most Black women that are entering these environments. They're selling the product of your problem is that you are too loyal to Black men. You need to open up your options. You need to be more able to mingle with non-Black people, particularly non-Black men, particularly white men. And what that article said is that these are not Black women oftentimes that are exclusive to Black men, and the white guys still ain't, they're not interested. Or they've created hostile environments where Black women can't shine. Of course. Duh. These white guys have, they tell these Black girls, these Black women, well, they're Black women, they're over 18, they tell these Black women that they're just chilling, they want to have fun, and then these Black women see them walking on the campus in relationships with other women. And Chrissy ignores that part and plays it down. And Crystalline Karazin ignores that part and plays it down. And Themis ignores that part and play it down. So of course those women are going to be depressed, the women of color, primarily Black women, and consider self-deletion. Because this entire society is selling them on BS. Going to selling you on poverty, go into the clip that Ed was covering last night from The Crew, I think it was. No, young lady, it's not Black men selling you on poverty. It's white society, the white capitalist, selling you on aspirationalism and consumerism and materialism. That's the problem. Believe it or not, I know this is going to come to a shocker to some of you ladies. Black men are actually not comfortable being poor. Believe it or not. Oh, God, wow. Mr. Z, are you sure about that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. It's you and your delusional mind state who have bought in to hyper-consumerism, hyper-materialism. Whoops, you're bad. And so now, because you can't live that life, you're considering self-deletion. Now, because they sold you a product, just go to school and get your education and you'll be fine and you'll meet your man afterward and you'll meet him in college. And that ain't working. That's the feminism part, because feminism is what removed the boys and the men from the school that they told you to go to where you would meet him. Ooh, goddamn, Mr. Z. You see the unholy alliance? The capitalists lied to you and told you your problem is that you're not working hard enough, so you need to go to college and get the degree. And then the feminists told you, oh, excuse me, the capitalists told you that the men on your level are in college or you're going to meet them after college. And then the feminists told you, yeah, you'll meet him in college. And neither is true. Yikes. And Lord Juno says, Mr. Z, here's another problem from the article. The survey did not ask students about reasons for their feelings or sadness or thoughts of harming themselves. I smell a it's men's fault narrative. Oh, you know it's coming. Oh, you know it's coming. You know it. All right. These people are trying their hardest to have the patriarchy without the patriarchs. They're shaming the men. They're trying to encourage the women to do this whole network thing. Women are already they're already super human beings are social creatures. The women are even more social. They already got the homegirls, which by the way they can't stay friends with for more than 5 years. They already got it. It's the individual men in the individual women's lives they need. But you have socialized the women to put the bar at the ceiling. I could tie this to the video essays right now. The ideal man isn't only rich. They prefer that he be rich. Now it's also he has to speak a certain way, comport himself a certain way. This is where we get Robert Downey Jr. This is where we get Ryan Reynolds. This is where we get Harry Styles. Right? This is where we get some of the white dudes from the Try Guys. Right? Now y'all could talk about Travis Kelce for the black women that are so inclined for that type of white man that's pretty much a black man, but white dipped. Right? This is where you get what's his face son? The one with the Jamaican baby mama. What is his name? Um that played Forrest Gump. Why do I be forgetting people names when I need them? Right? I said this man name like yesterday or the day before. Um yeah, that guy. Right? Because you look at the difference between him and his older brother. Right? Raised by the same rich, famous dad, but look at how they both act. One is talking about white boy summer, yawn, and the other one, you wouldn't know who his daddy was if he told you. You wouldn't believe him. But once again, These people are selling these people on this, oftentimes through the video essays without actually ever saying it or ever being overt about it. But the understated statements lead you to believe that there's something wrong with men of color and how they perform manhood and masculinity, which only leaves one man. Dun, 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 the white man and his erect phallus, and he don't got no bubble gum, right? Like I said, we always end up in the crotch region of the white dude. So of course it's gonna come back and answering Lord Juno. Of course it's gonna come back to it's the men's fault because the men haven't created the society that's beneficial to the women, particularly in the black. I mean, isn't this what black women are saying? That's black women's argument. They are the way they are because white men haven't. Excuse me, black men haven't built anything. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. Maybe I should have said it the right. Maybe I should have kept on with that statement because white men haven't built the situation to put black women on the same level as white women, at least upper middle class and rich white women. I don't know how this would work. The math don't math, but okay. This is black women's argument. They are the way they are because black men ain't ish, right? Let's answer. Better you says the problem with capitalism is all the problems are solved with markets. Exactly. It encourages those market players to gain unfair advantages to exercise leverage. Now you put that in the dating sphere, and you get what exactly? Now dating is already a competition anyway. You put market concepts in there, and oh my god, it was already a competition. You're already trying to outcompete the next woman or the next man. But now you put market forces and you really make it a capitalist endeavor. Oh, and don't forget, you just infused all the women with feminist notions over the past 50 some odd years. Right? And you get this schizophrenic ass women. I'm going to keep on stressing this. I am women hear me roar while also wanting to play damsel in distress at the same time. We're human beings. We can turn different levers, different buttons, different switches on and off as we so please. We have that willpower. We have that ability. That's a human talent. But these women want to be damsel in distress and I am woman hear me roar at the same time. So you put that in the capitalist sphere where we put a market valuation on everything, a hard market valuation on everything, and you socialize your men and your women to think like that. Yikes. Once again, who's getting married again? Ooh, goddamn. Who's staying married again? Again? Ooh, goddamn. So are we saying poor men have a character flaw? Lower middle class men have a character flaw? And guess what, everyone? Who's more likely to be the poorer men and the working class men and the lower middle class men? Men of color. As a percentage of their population, who's more likely? Oops. Men of color, black men specifically. Should have never gave you Negroes the internet. Whether the ladies realize it or not, this is kind of a strip club because y'all undressing yourselves right in front of us. Let me give y'all the numbers again. Y'all know Mr. Z, notice by heart. 26% of poor Americans are married. And this was as of what, 2017, 2018. So this information is working on being late and old. I guarantee you it's even worse and egregious now. 26% of poor Americans are married. 39% of middle class Americans, 56% of upper middle class and above are married, according to the American Enterprise Institute. What we know is money is the number one reason for divorce in America. They say irreconcilable differences. Money. Who files for the majority of divorces in America? The women. Huh. Capitalists much? These same women, all on these same women. We need to get rid of the capitalist patriarchy. The capitalist patriarchy, heteronormative, transphobic society. We need to get rid of this, etc., etc., etc. And the people that are exhibiting capitalism the hardest in these marriages are the hardest capitalists in the marriages are the people that divorce you because you don't got the money that they thought you should have had. Yikes. Y'all could talk about character flaw all y'all want, ladies. Everybody know why y'all getting divorced. The money and the lifestyle. Half the times y'all struggle while y'all single too, though. I'm just saying. Shout out to all the I could do battle by myself, ladies. Clearly. Right? Clearly. So yeah, like better you said, markets. The answer for everything is markets. Markets. For those more conservative or moderate brothers that hear me speak, first of all, thank you for being subscribers, right? But when you hear Mr. Z rail against capitalism, this is what I'm saying. This is one of the things I'm saying. It can't be the answer for everything. You can't have a market valuation, specifically this neoliberal kind of capitalism, right? The Freeman-esque capitalism, right? Then you mix that with the Ayn Rand concept of individuality and personal responsibility and a kind of delusional concept of agency. Yes, Mr. Z believes people have agency. I'm not saying that. I'm not going all the way left like that. But I'm saying it's real difficult to talk about how people have agency when you rejigger a system to pretty much point them in one direction. And then don't want to deal with the fallout and the consequences of pretty much pointing your entire society in one direction. Money will fix everything. Capitalist notions, market notions of everything will fix everything. Just let the market decide. I remember having this conversation with a coworker one time, and he said, I believe in the marketplace of ideas. And I said, yeah, me too. Unfortunately, if you win, I'll just shoot you in the head. And the look on his face when I said that, because I gave him something to think about. Yeah, you won the debate in the marketplace of ideas, but I have the power. We'll just take care of you the fast way, right? Rest in peace, Martin and Malcolm and Medgar Evers and Fred Hampton and Che Guevara and Benicio Bhutto and all the African leaders and all the South American leaders. Do you see the theme here? They had the superior idea in the marketplace of ideas, and what happened to them? How do you defend your idea and you being on the right side of history when the other side has the guns? Capitalism. You hoard the wealth. You don't spread it. No, 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 no. You hoard the wealth. You turn the wealth into power, into political influence, into social power and social influence. You socialize everybody to aspire to be like you, but not really, because you don't want them to actually be like you. Too much competition up there. And there you go. Marketplace of ideas, the dating market, the housing market, market. All right, there's consequences to that. And if right now white people pretty much run this planet, what does that look like? Marketplace of ideas. Who's winning? Who got the so who has the superior ideas? If we freeze frame the world right now, don't look really good. Now do it. I could actually tie that to the video essays too. Because if white women are on top of women, if when like I said, if they're the ideal student, if little white girls are the ideal student, you freeze frame it right now. Because their parents won over the past 500 years, their ancestors won. Then once again, like I said, they're winning the marketplace of ideas. So we say through power. It's not really that they won the ideas. They're forcing their ideology on you. Centuries later, now your daughters are creating video essays, essentially implying how horrible the men of their own race is, and kind of moonwalking right into black men. When they moonwalk into when they moonwalk into white men, then what does that mean? They're moonwalking into the erect white phallus. Damn, Mr. Z, why you gotta be so vulgar? I gotta make it stick like the white man does. Ooh, goddamn, Mr. Z. Hey, I'm just saying, the LGBTQ, that's what they fighting for, right? Right. Angry women in Britain, Combahee River Collective over here in America. That's their ideal. And Trell Bentley says women on top of women. Yeah, right. Because they're Americanized as hell. And Lord Juno says white women are at 23% and black women are at 22% when it comes to contemplating self deletion. Yeah. Chet Hanks, thank you. Thank you very much, Spain man. Chet Hanks, Tom Hanks' son. Yes, thank you. Chet Hanks is who I was referring to that was talking about White Boy Summer. And that's who some black women would be and some other women of color would be attracted to. Right. And Lord Juno says, but here's the kicker. Also, another CDC report about 1 in 3 men experience um, oh wow, sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime. And who possesses who again? Who possesses who again? Who thinks they own who again? Look, yes, we are men, and yes, we are women, human beings. We are men, we are women. Yes, we are. Our biology is different. We are having right now. It's a street fight between nature versus nurture argument in our society. This really comes down to those of us that think nature supersedes nurture versus the feminists and the ideologues on the other side who thinks nurture supersedes nature, right? And what they've done in the conversation over the past few decades is try to socialize everyone into the nurture over nature, meanwhile contending that women are morally superior to men. And so that's why you don't get stories like this covered, or who initiates DV covered. You don't get that, right? Because that would fly in the face of much of the things they say. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That would fly in the face of much of what they say. Speaking about the fact that 1 in 3 young men report being stalked or being in some type of, you know, SV situation with women, that would make women too human. That wouldn't make them gods, like how we've been how we've been told to speak about them over the past few decades. That would mean that they're not beyond reproach. That would mean that they're just as likely as men to do certain things, right? That would mean all of that. And we can't have that now, can we? We can't have that conversation now, can we? Right? And thank you once again, Spain Man. Um, and Spain Man says they're doing the same thing Middle America does, cheering for capitalist maneuvers that ultimately hurt themselves. I literally had this conversation last night. I literally had this conversation last night with a coworker. Actually, yeah, with a coworker. Um, he showed me a clip of some brothers, younger brothers, getting money, getting to the bag. Um, they're in a car and they're speaking about how Obama did nothing for them. That healthcare thing was garbage. It actually hurt. One of the dudes said it actually hurt him. And he's a big Trump supporter and Trump fan. And screw these taxes. Pretty much a black hood version of a white conservative, right? And me and my coworker got into a conversation about that, and I said, and yet his grandma gets ill. Does he have the money to spend for her $30,000 health bill, her 40 grand health bill, right? Medical procedures and whatnot. And so I was saying, my coworker, it's not about the taxes, it's about where the taxes go. Number one. Number two, when we have a very short-sighted, myopic view of these things, we end up in the place where we are now, like Spain Man was saying, where we advocate for things that end up biting us in the rear end later. You want to lower taxes, cool. Tax dollars, schools, yikes. Tax dollars, roads, yikes. Tax dollars, police department and fire department, yikes. Huh. Tax dollars. Bridges and parks and all of that other stuff. Now, the taxes get chopped up by state, local, and federal, of course, but all of that is tax money. Taxes. You want to lower taxes? Cool. Don't complain about that damn pothole that's turning into a sinkhole in a major intersection in your city. Don't complain about the F-rated schools. Don't complain about none of that. Don't complain about that bridge that fell over in your city. None of it. Don't complain about the FDA approving the worst type of food and drugs ever. Now, we're going to pretend we're going to control for corruption here. We're not going to talk about the corruption part, right? Which is a big part, but for the sake of this conversation, right? I always find it interesting black people speaking this way. right? Once again, Mr. Z tells y'all already know where I sit politically. I can't tell you where to sit politically. But I don't think black people have the luxury of not thinking about these things on a macro level. If hyper individuality and atomization is crushing white people, then you can imagine black people that adopt this ideology, whether knowingly or not, particularly not knowing, right? It's actually, yeah. But so, tying up everything, um, with the video essays, look, I actually want to make a part two to this. It might take me a couple days. You could put it in a growing list of part twos. But our young people, our young women consuming these video essays, oftentimes from people, some just want to impart some knowledge and some wisdom. They start making money off of it. Now they got to continue doing it in a particular way. They have their own biases. We all do as human beings. And it leaks out in their video essays. And then we end up in the same place we were before, where you recreate white supremacy without even realizing it for some of you. You speak about horrible patriarchy is and capitalism is and um, this heteronormative way of thinking and desirability, and maybe we should play with some non-binary concepts of our sexuality and our and how we present and how we speak and how we think and how we feel, right? Meanwhile, we end up in the same place where white men are the pinnacle. And Trell Billy says Z gotta hire a production assistant to help with all the part twos. Bruh, yeah, yeah. It gotta be at least a dozen at this point. Probably more, right? Probably more. Thank you, Trell Billy. You're absolutely right. I not look. Shout out when I think Indigo flowed. Shout out to Indigo. Indigo is like, I said shoestring budget. Indigo is like, no, Velcro budget. That's even funnier. And when you said it, I thought about the sound of the Velcro when you're detaching the two sides, which made it even funnier, right? But yeah, Mr. Z working with a Velcro budget. Look, I'm just a regular, everyday, working class brother with a perspective, right? And regular working class money, regular working class income. So it might even be worse than a Velcro budget. We might have spit bucket budget, right? And KW Don says Dr. Amos Wilson used to ask the black conservatives, "What do you have to conserve?" And I think this is where FD comes in, and I actually really like his concept of lowercase c conservatism, right? Because I think for them it's the traditional nuclear family. It's more recent times. Well, not that's a lie. Actually, I actually have to stop myself before I even finish that sentence. But it's mainly that it's the nuclear family. It's respectability. It's black people comporting themselves in a certain way. That's both black men and black women. For I would argue when you listen to conservative, particularly brethren speak, they're speaking about the black dollar not staying in the black community for more than 6 hours, which I don't know how we really test that. I don't know what Nielsen report actually says that. I don't know where they actually get that from, but okay, cool. Um, It's that, right? It's the lack of black businesses. It's, like I said, the black nuclear family. It's how black people dress. It's respectability politics. It's brothers sagging their pants and women with tattoos and spaghetti strap shirts and stuff like that. When they say conservative, they're saying getting away from that, going back to like 1950s, 1960s um women, really 50s, right? Because 60s is when it starts getting a little loose. But yeah, that's what they're speaking about. I would argue, at least, right? Now, there's a whole lot that has happened that I think conservative brothers and sisters don't take into account, and that you're pretty much fighting an uphill battle, and it's probably not going to go the way you want. Um, okay, when we speak about black businesses, black people started 2 million businesses in between the years of what I think 92 and 2012, something like that, 20-year span, something like that. It was like 2 million businesses. So black people have been starting businesses. They're failing because white capital's eating everything. That is why you have um the decline in entrepreneurship over the past 40 years in America, not just for black people, but for Americans, because who's competing against Walmart? Who's competing against Amazon? You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. Who's competing against the major grocery store chains, depending on what region of the country you live in, or the major telecom, radio stations and stuff like that, the major conglomerates? Who's competing against the major, alcohol and beverages and stuff like that? Who's competing against them? I think the same capitalism that these brothers advocate for is what's biting them in the rear end. Yeah, you're worth 2, 5, 10 mil. Let's see what happens when you try to jump into that $100 million category, that $100 million echelon, that potentially $1 billion echelon. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Jeff Bezos don't come knocking on your door. Mark Zuckerberg don't come knocking on your door with an offer you can't refuse. Go speak to Diapers R Us. Oh wait, it doesn't exist anymore. I wonder why. The same type of capitalism they advocate for. So when I say, well, at least the way I'm explaining what I think the conservative brethren mean, speaking to the Dr. Amos Wilson comment, I think it's, I think, like we were saying earlier, they're advocating for something without looking at the super big macro, right? How do you even get back to a particular type of nuclear family without addressing the fact that the capitalists said we don't need it no more? We pushed it for at a certain time, but we don't really need it no more. Especially as we already got y'all atomized. We already got y'all thinking hyper individualistically, right? We already producing the machines to produce the products. So, right, we already got a corner of the market. So when I see conservative brothers speak, right, that they start speaking about competition real heavy, right? So you have the mixing of the more Christian conservative tradcon black people, which tradcon is mainly a white thing, but you have the tradcon black people trying to also mix in their kind of like Christian conservative concepts with capitalism at the same time, and you just get this like kind of toxic sludge mix of like ideology that kind of doesn't fit, but they try to make it fit, right? It's very blatant when it's the white folks, because then that's when we get into God riding excuse me, Jesus riding a horse with the M16 on his hip, right? That sounds really retarded. So when the white folks do it, it's very blatant. Like we know what that is, right? Don't tread on me, white folks that try to fuse like hyper individuality with concepts of like community at the same time, right? Like, how are you Ayn Rand, or Randian is how they say it, Randian conservative, while also being Christian, right? Do for self hyper individuality while also having concepts of community and doing unto others as you would do unto yourself, and family values and nuclear family in 1950s, leave it up to Beaver, you know white picket fence, 2.3 kids, while also being out for self and hyper capitalist and hyper individualistic and competitive and winner take all. Yeah, right. It actually is kind of, it causes people to be somewhat schizophrenic, right? And Big Kev says too much regulation is bad as no regulation. I agree. I actually agree, right? But who's being regulated? Look at how we spoke. COVID-19, perfect. Everybody's still talking about, oh, we gave people too much big checks and they were able to sit on their, they say ass, they were able to sit on their ass for 2 years and 3 years and receive government checks, and that's why they don't want to go to work and da 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 da. And the same people that are saying that, were out here taking PPP loans. What the government wasn't just giving PPP loans to everyday people. What about all those corporations that we found that was stealing the money, taking the PPP loans, and it wasn't until people started realizing, they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll give that back." Right? So, Big Kev, I agree with you. The question is, who's being regulated and how? Who's getting the tax cuts? Right? Who's able to go a couple years without income, without profit, and still survive? You try going a couple years without making no money and see how well you're doing. These companies get established. Uber, Tesla, don't make a profit for a decade and still good. Who's looking out for you to see, to you? Okay, you enter the workforce at 18 out of high school, or let's say you're lucky, you get your parents send you some money at college, you got all type of grants and loans, you enter the workforce after college at 23. Try going 10 years without making no money and see. Right? Now, do some of these companies eventually become profitable? Of course, of course, of course. But who's giving you a 10-year window to become profitable? Right? As an adult, right? Make it worse. Who's allowing you to hemorrhage money and cost them while they still invest in you as an adult for 10 years? Right? Make it worse. Who's subsidizing you? So that's like your parents taking your brother's money to give to you to send you to college. Then you come out of college and then they still got to subsidize you for another 5, 6, 7 years. Right? And thanks for the super chat, by the way, Big Kev and KW Don. If I didn't say it earlier, once again, thank you for the super chat. Right? And Kareem says, no systems are perfect. Look at the socialist communist systems. Um, their countries who participate in it all effed up. Oh, trouble. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true. That's true also. And I agree with you. There is no perfect system. One slight caveat. One slight caveat. The end of history, right? Francis Fukuyama, right? So the capitalists won. The capitalists won. The war between the Soviets and the US, the capitalist West versus the communist East, right? And East and South. The capitalists won. Over the past 30 years. You've had varying degrees of capitalism, even the socialist countries. Now, once again, like BGS says, and it's 100% true, no country is truly 100% free market capitalist. That's absolutely true. But the capitalists won definitely over the past 30 years. But even before you get to that, you have to remember how many communist and hardcore democratic socialist nations were their leaders offed versus how many capitalist leaders were offed by capitalists, right? We could list, there's a long list of more communist minded, Marxian minded leaders from Africa to the Middle East to South Asia, Southeast Asia to South America that were to the Caribbean that were either overthrown, coup d'etat, or just straight up assassinated over the better part of the past 70-ish years, 70-ish, 80 years. How many capitalist leaders can you say the same? Right? So I will agree with you, but with the slight caveat of many of these nations, we didn't get to see how this would look, right? Because of the unfortunate circumstances that befall the people with the vision. And we see recent examples of that with Venezuela. Venezuela is the most prime example in recent times that you could list, right? You got Hugo Chavez. Venezuela's doing pretty all right. America's not messing with him, but cool, whatever. He goes up on the United Nations floor. He says that funny comment about sulfur and after, because he goes on after George W. Bush and blah, blah, blah. He gives Obama a book about people of color. I think it was about black people in particular, but people of color in South America. Then he dies of cancer. Yeah. And then Maduro replaces him because that's who he wanted. And then the US tries to push Guaido on Venezuela. And now Venezuela is going through all type of economic hardship because the whole point of the sanctions is to make sure that your people overthrow you. Can't say it was us. Look, it had nothing to do with us. Look, your own people overthrew you because your whole political situation and your economics is messed up. So it has nothing to do with the sanctions and you squeezing us and allowing us not to trade and not trading vital and valuable things with us. It don't have nothing to do with that. That's not why my people are trying to overthrow me, right? Yeah, that's it. It's because my politics is all messed up. Yeah. And my economics is all messed up. Has nothing to do with the sanctions and the strangling my economy coming from the outside. No, nothing to do with that. Right? From Congo to Chile. 2 countries across the Atlantic. Leaders murked. Right? I'm just saying. To Iraq. Not Iraq. Iran. I was thinking about Mossadegh. Sorry, you guys. Iran. So you got Iran, you got Congo, you got Chile, you have, name them. All Mossadegh wanted to do was nationalize the oil and let the profits of the oil spread out in the country. The US and Britain said, nah, we can't let that happen. Sorry, Mossadegh, we got to get you the hell up out of here. Operation Ajax, look it up for anybody that want to know. That's how you get the Shah installed back into power, and then that's how you get the Iranian Revolution in the 1979. They never tell you that part. They tell you about the hostage holding. They tell you about all of that, right? They tell you about it. They always tell you about the Iranian Revolution. They never tell you about 1953 and what caused that, right? Don't worry. Fast forward, by the time we start to pass away as millennials or some of you Xers, maybe the oldest of Gen Z, by the time we're gone, they're going to tell you a different type of story about Venezuela, right? Or when we're too old and people ain't trying to listen to us anymore anyway, right? Cuba, America sanctioned Cuba since the 50s. Since the 50s. How many assassination attempts did Fidel Castro go through? Man died of old age by luck. And his people being ultra mega vigilant. Now, does that mean that if the U.S. wanted to really, really, really murk him, they couldn't, but it would have been too overt? But all the little subtle ways, yeah, nope. Spain man killing me right now. Spain man said Venezuela didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I know, right? With the U.S. foot on their neck. And he said Venezuela should have fought harder. Isn't that what some of the sisters say to us? You should have fought harder. Right? I think Karine said something else. Let me see what we got. Okay. And Karine says the US is complicit in messing with those countries, yes, but regular people on the ground are saying that they prefer US to their own. No, I mean, like, we're here, right? Karine, you're in America, I'm in America, so clearly, right? So Mrs. Z, I'm not trying to be like complete. I'm not, I want to say pedantic. That's the word I really want to use, but I don't know if it fits, right? I'm not trying to play like ignorant here, like we don't know, like some of these countries, their systems really are, crap. So I'm not trying to pretend like they don't have insane corruption in these other nations also. Where let's not, I'm not doing that. Mr. Z is not doing that. What I am saying though is we don't know how great these other places could have been and would have been because of Western, primarily American interference in their internal politics. The black community in America is a prime example. We don't know where black America could have been, would have been if at the end of Jim Crow, the US would at least, let's say the US would have extended, the federal government would have extended recreation 30 years. Not the 12 years, 30 years. God, if they would have gave it 50 years, that would have been great. But let's say 30 years. And then they would have made sure there was no KKK hurting black people, but they would have also opened up, you know, different spaces and allowed for black people to actually participate in this country. No segregation after the Civil War or after Reconstruction. We would have been dealing with a different type of black people. Even if they would have started that in 1965, we would have been dealing with a different type of black people. But because their hands are always all over the internal politics of black America, you get the type of black America we have now. Same thing with overseas. Right? Same thing with overseas. We know what's going on. You're Jamaican, I'm Haitian, we know what's going on. We know, yeah, them governments is beat, and we know the quid pro quo, right? The bag of money left on your back porch, corrupt. Yeah, some of these people coming from Jamaica or Haiti, they balling out. You find out they're the nephew of some politician back home, right? The child of some politician back home. That's all over the place. That's China. That's Nigeria. That's Haiti. That's Jamaica. Y'all find out who these people that's balling out of control. Find out who they people are. Like we found out what Kamala's granddad was part of the Indian government. He was one of the people that helped India when Britain like released India, right? At the end of Indian colonialization or colonialism under British rulership. That's how I should have said it, right? Her grandfather was one of those kind of founding members. There you go, right? I agree with that. And Big Kev says communism sounds good in theory, but is terrible in practice. I agree. I don't know. Well, Mr. Z is not arguing for communism. I don't believe in no philosopher king. I don't think anyone's that wise. I don't think anyone's that benevolent and that disciplined and knows how to handle people in an unbiased way who's always going to be fair. And first of all, nobody's powerful enough to that. Yeah, you would have to have literal Superman, but then Superman would have to be smart and fair and even-handed. It is, yeah, it just don't make no sense. And like when I say smart, I mean like God level wisdom. And it's yeah. So even if you had a being or entity that was physically on Superman's level, you still need someone that's like God level intelligence and wisdom. And then yeah, that's just not a thing. So yeah, communism just it's not a thing. That's not yeah. I don't see that. I don't. Yeah, I don't see that. So yeah, I agree with you about that, Big Kev. Thank you, better you. And like that was the argument from a bunch of civil rights leaders coming out of the Civil War and coming out of Reconstruction. Just leave us alone. Just leave us alone. And when you leave us alone, the white people that mess with us. You get the Wilmingtons of the country, and then even if white people don't mess with us, you get the Tulsa, Oklahomas of the country, right? You get the Rosewoods of the country. That's what happens if you just leave us alone. White people mingle with us, and they're like, "Yeah, we mess with y'all. Yeah, yeah, yeah." You get Wilmington. If they don't, you get Tulsa. You still winning. But certain white people were like, "Yeah, no, we can't have that. No, no to Wilmington and no to Tulsa also, and no to Rosewood also." And give it another 50, 60 years, then we're going to be building highways through your cities after that. And then give it another, you know, 70, 80 years, then we're going to be, well, more like 90 years, then we're going to be gentrifying. Right? So, yeah. And thank you, Karine. I try. And Karine says, "Nah, I heard you. Your commentary is very balanced and fair." I try. Oh, I try. I'll tell you though, sometimes Mr. Z be extra biased. I don't make any bones about it. Yes, Mr. Z be biased as hell on certain things. But thank you very much for that, Karine. I try. Right. Especially on the politics. Yes, I'm politically left, but that's why, I can speak to anyone reasonable. That's why you see me and Sandog. I could speak to Sandog, right? And I could speak to the brothers in the middle, the moderates, the Roger Report and Dr. T and Charles, right? And Dr. Thunder. I could speak to the brothers in the middle too, because it's about being reasonable, right? And like making sense. Because none of us are 100% right. And we're speaking, if you want to talk about America at large, you're speaking about 340 million people that we're trying to have coexist with each other, right? And if you're speaking about the black community In particular, you have over 40 million people, right, that you're trying to not forget coexist, have prosper, right? In varying degrees, yes. And then these people are having an influx of other black people coming from the diaspora that's coming in and out or that's staying, and that this will be their home, right? This is their new home. This is going to be their children's home, their grandchildren's home, and in 2 3 generations, they're as American as American pie, right? So yeah, so when we speak about, I first, I think I'm just, that's who I am, is try to be balanced. But then I think in particular with my platform, I try to go above and beyond, especially when we start speaking politics and social issues. I try my hardest, right? T T, you killed me. He said, so Superman. Essentially, right? Superman with more wisdom, right? Superman with more wisdom and knowledge, right? Because nobody's ever said Superman was like super smart. He's just like a physical specimen, right? But like Superman with like the ability to read people's minds of Professor X, and like, I don't know who's the smartest person between DC and Marvel, that person, right? Or that entity, right? So yeah, I mean, ending this out. Thanks once again, all of you, for coming in here. Damn, Mr. Z, it's 2 hours and 11. I thought it was gonna be less than that, but cool. Um, Video essays. I think it's turning certain people's minds into mush, and it's recreating white supremacy, but from a very um measured, um cold way, right? A very measured way, because a lot of these people, like I said, Mr. Z doesn't really talk about the dummies. I don't talk about them really. These people aren't. Kim is not dumb. Paris is an airhead, but she ain't dumb, right? Chrissy's not dumb. Lexus Exodus is not dumb. Mahogany Pink is not dumb. Julesie's not dumb. Nappy Headed Hope is not dumb. We know now. There's the Amanda Marianne's not dumb. Khadijah's not dumb. Name them. All the people I always speak about. FD clearly, but their ideology. All right. And then what do you recreate when you create these video essays? What is the conclusion that your subscribers, pretty and usually younger subscribers, what's the conclusion they come to? And how do they act on it? Especially for the Kims from Fort Harriet. You critique black men all of this way, and then and you yourself said you won't tell your subscribers not to date out. So what's the conclusion? White men are better. Now, every once in a while, you may say, "Oh, I ain't telling y'all white men are better." Yeah, nah. White liberal men are the best. So we have to have a real conversation about the people producing this content and what the final result is. Like I said, Kim could say whatever she want about going to prom with the white dude and how the black boys weren't checking for her in high school, and that's why she went to prom with the white dude. But the end result is that you went to prom with the white guy. So you could talk all the crap about the black boys all you want, but what? They were at prom with a white girl and you was at prom with a white boy. There you go. The end result is the end result. So y'all could snicker at the divestors all y'all want, say they doing too much, they're too loud. The end result is that a lot of your subscribers end up in the same place, because the content y'all are creating as a group points them in the same direction as the divestors. Y'all are just not as virulent about it. That's all. Right? That's what Mr. Z was saying. The content y'all create, and I was really mulling this over because I kept on thinking about the video I made speaking about Amanda Marianne and what she was saying, even though she critiqued Mindy Kaling for pretty much worshiping at the altar of white men, when she spoke about the characters that women write, like the men that women write and the ideal man, it essentially her examples were white dudes. And all of the men that were like these ideal men, that these doting husbands and these these supermen were white men. And yeah, she made a tacit little jab at white men and white patriarchy, but at the end of the day, your ideal dude was a white dude. What makes you different than a swirler or a divester? Yeah, you're not as virulent about it. And I truly believe, like, these people think I'm just falling in love. It's just like I can't help who I love. I can't help who I like in this white patriarchal society where I put white men above other men. And I end up with the white men in a white patriarchy that I just was talking crap about 5 minutes ago, but I'm still with the white man. Yikes. Like I said, recreating these things while critiquing them. Right? Sounds like a divester. Going in on black men for supposed colorism. Meanwhile, you want to abort black male babies, so you're going to have a black mixed girl with a white dude. What, you're going to socialize her? You're going to raise her to stay away from black men? Shout out to Meghan Markle and her mom. I'm just saying. All right. So on that note, you see what I'm saying? You see, Kareen got me staying here a little bit longer. You see what I'm saying, Kareen? Kareen says they promote this inclusive culture, but they're not inclusive. Look at how they. And Kareen said, "LOL." Look at how they speak. Look at how they speak about white women. Look about how they speak about black men. Look how they speak about Latinas. As a matter of fact, Mr. Z gets referring to Latinas as Consuela from these people, right? The Karens, the Consuelas, right? They refer to black men as dusties and nakers and all these other derogatory terms. The Asian women is Mei Ling. All of these kind of derogatory terms, but yet these people claim to be inclusive, and like that's the divestors, that's the loud ones, right? But even with the people that I'm particularly speaking about, that like the bread tube, the black women bread tube, right? You say you're inclusive, you're open to different sexual expressions, people being open sexually, doing whatever they want, cool. But like Fab Socialism said, how come so many radical black women are with white men? What Mr. Z saying to that is, how is it that y'all all come to the conclusion that the best fit for you is either LGBTQ activity or a white man? You saying all of that, but look at it. And Big Kev said, when are you going to have another panel? You know what, Big Kev? It should have been, if it was going to be, it was going to be today. Y'all going to have to wait for another panel for a few days because, let me see. I'm working double tomorrow, double Thursday, then Friday, Saturday. Maybe we could squeeze. Oh crap! But that's Art of Immore. You might have to wait a week. You might have to wait until Sunday, right? Maybe I'll just make that my thing, whether I'm gonna be the Black Manosphere show of the week or not. Maybe I'm okay. Let's see if Mr. Z is going to start doing Sunday morning panels. Let's try to shoot for that. So barring anything or any type of car, like y'all know I'll be going to my car events. So my car shows, I'll be going to them. But let's see if I start to make Sunday mornings panels. Yeah, I could do that because that especially if I'm not going to anything, I'll just start waking up and we could have a theme. I'll give my monologue and then I'll bring people up. So Yeah, Big Kev, let's shoot for Sunday, and then maybe I'll make that turn that into a job, like how I'm treating this as a job. And let's see if we turn Sunday mornings into panels. That sounds like a plan, right? And Big Kev says, the fact that y'all making better you right about this. Goddamn, Kareen and better you. I mean, Kareen, well, you two better you. Kareen and Big Kev, right? Because I said I'm out of here like 2 times already. And Big Kev said, they're upset about not being white men's first pick. I think for many, like, I really mean this. I don't think most black women are fronting they really pro-black. They like BGS has implied or suggested. I'm gonna say it in these words. So I'm not putting words in BGS's mouth. This is how I register it. I just don't think they know how to exhibit loving black men in a way that's not toxic. But I truly believe the majority of black women love black men. I truly believe that. They just suck at it, right? Now, the women that I'm speaking about, I think it's just a recreation of white feminism, right? It's just a recreation. They are, in many ways, just chocolate dipped white women, right? Especially, I mean, if we raise these particular women to be a certain type of aspirational in a white supremacist society, what did we think was going to happen? Number one. Number two, especially for our suburban girl cousins, what did we think was going to happen? We get Stefko from our suburban girl cousins. We get Amanda Marianne from our suburban girl cousins. We get Kim from For Harriet from our suburban girl cousins. That's who they become. So of course they're gonna feel a certain way about not being the first picked from the white guys if that's their situation, right? Meanwhile, they telling us the first person to ever compliment them was a white boy or a white man, ignoring the dozens, if not hundreds, of white men and white boys that completely ignored them, and the black boys that were interested in them but they weren't interested, right? So yes, there are black women that they feel a certain way about that. And if you think about it, even politically, this is how we get into our bell hooks bag. If white men are at the pinnacle of masculinity and manhood for these women, then they want to be validated by being sought after by white men, right? Especially as an individual black woman. If if black women are on the bottom and white men are at the top, and you as an individual black woman are a white man is coveting you, a particularly an attractive white man with some money and some status, nobody can't tell you anything. You are on cloud nine, right? And Diaspora L, exactly. The funky academic goes in on white women and he is married to one. Exactly. And yeah, yes. But if you ever heard the funky academic speak, he's never pulled the I'm with a white woman because black women were never checking. And I've also personally heard him speak about attractive black women, right? Once again, Mr. Z has said this before. Maybe I haven't said this on this video. We're not speaking about the black women that truly find random white dude. They meet, they fall in love. They meet in college, they fall in love. They have them some little beige babies, and they continue on with their life. There was a sister that was on. That's who I was trying to say the name of earlier when I was speaking about a black woman that was on a black woman with a white husband that was appalled by all of this divester talk, and she was on a woman's channel, and I couldn't remember. I think what's her name? Roxy Beckles? Roxy. I forget the sister's last name, but Roxy, forget the sister's last name. But she had a stream where it was a black woman that was married to a white man, and her and her white husband, they couldn't rock with the divester talk. So you do have black people that are married to non-black people, primarily white people, that it's organic. We happen to be in the same environment, we have the same interest. I find this person, we just sail out in the sunset and live our life. But I would argue that the majority of interracial relationships in this country, I said the majority, even before we specifically start talking about black people, then even more specifically for Black people, is not that. I would argue, and I don't care who y'all, I got family members that's in interracial marriages. I'll say it to their face, and all the niggas go whip my ass. Right? As a matter of fact, I've said it to them. There you go, Mr. Z. I would argue the majority of interracial relationships between Black people and non-Black people, but primarily white people, it's not on some up and up love thing. It's not. And you give me a private investigator and some microphones I could hide, or access to the Alexa, and I could prove it to you. Right? So on that note, let me truly get out of here. I got stuff to do. All right, y'all. And Chaos Rain asked if he could drop a link. A link to what, Chaos? All right. Especially we live in this society, this white supremacist society, and we're just saying, oh, look, I just love who I love, and you just love non-Black dudes, particularly white dudes. I just think the divestors are being loud, but they're not. They're not rare amongst women of color. How you tell me white supremacy this, patriarchy this, blah 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 blah, and then you end up with a white dude, and it's just love? I don't know. And it's always interesting, like I said, like they think jabbing at it every once in a while proves that they're not like a divester or something. Like, yeah, nah. Facts on facts. And Kareen says the majority of interracial are white men and Asian women, right? Why don't they show it more in commercial? They just keep pushing. This Black woman and white woman, which is one of the lowest pairings. Black women and I think you've been a white man. I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. Well, because it's about aspirationalism, right? The most common, like you said, most common is white men, Asian women, and yet you don't see that on camera all day, every day, right? They show it and people know it. That's for those of us that's observant. But every other commercial now, and I'm exaggerating. We're exaggerating, right? But every other commercial is a Black woman with a white man, and yet only 1% of white men, give or take, marry Black women, right? So where is this coming from? It's just like the Issa Rae um show, right? Insecure. They had homegirl with the Asian dude. Like, how common is that? Even in California, how common is that? Even in the Northeast, in New York, how common is that? Right? Does that mean it never happens? Of course not. That's not what we're saying. But an accomplished attorney Black woman with the Asian dude, and she got a kind of bad attitude, right? Right? So yeah, Kareen, you're right. And but there's a reason for it. Once again, aspirate. Look, Black women, we appreciate your beauty, even though we don't really show it. Like I've said before, these same type of people will speak about how gorgeous Gabby Sidibe is, and they'll show her in a dress. And I'm not insulting Gabby Sidibe. They're showing her in a dress, and they're showing her next to these pencil thin white women and Asian women and Latina women, right? And then you look at all of these white guys that are straight and their wives and girlfriends and their side chicks, and they don't. First of all, forget heavy set. They don't even have a Black person in the bunch. They don't even have one Black woman in the bunch, let alone a heavy set Black woman. Right? Oh yeah, you're talking about the coolies and whatnot. Kareen. Kareen says it happens more with blacks and South Asians, especially in the Caribbean countries. Yeah, that's true. Trinidad, Jamaica, USVI, right? Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I grew up with them. I grew up with them, right? So truly, let me close it out right here. Guyanese, yeah, Guyanese, exactly, exactly, exactly. Not Ghana, but Guyana, y'all, right? So I'll truly pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Put the link in the comments afterward. Chaos Rain, and put the link in the comments after. In my not the live comments, but the comment after, right? And I'll check it out, and if I like it, I'll pin it. Um, but yeah, y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. No, not even the super chat because Mr. Z about to close out. Like, share, subscribe. Um, Big Kev, I'm gonna shoot for Sunday for the panel. And let me see what I want to do a panel on. I should be Black Manosphere show the week in a couple weeks, and I'm probably gonna have a car conversation. So y'all look out for that. All my gearheads, my automobile enthusiasts, even those of you that just y'all loosely in the cars. We'll have a conversation. I'll bring y'all up. Everybody could tell me what their dream car is, what your first car was, what your affordable dream car is. Well, I'll have a list of questions. I'm gonna pull an Art New style and do what I want to cover, right? In the description box. Shout out to the brother Art New style who gave me that idea. Yeah. Oh, he said okay. And Chaos Rain said I email it to you instead, Mr. Z. Okay, okay, great, great, right. And so we'll do that. So that'll be upcoming in the next couple weeks. So let's shoot for that. And on that note, Mr. Z out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all night or day, better yet. And thank you for being in here, Kareen and Toya, the ladies. Thank you all your brothers for being in here. Um, Shannon B, wherever you are, if you're listening in, Shannon B be listening in, and you don't even know she just hit you with a 5 or a 10 on the Cash App, right? So that's funny, right? So yeah, and we'll end it out there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Um, and I hate the fact that y'all making better you right about the fact that I'll be closed. Like it take me 3 or 4 or 5 times to close out. All right, y'all. Check out other Black Manosphere content. Check out other non-Manosphere content. So y'all don't sound like some of these people that create this video essay content that worship white dudes. Maybe if y'all know more about the world, it wouldn't be all about white men. Y'all wouldn't backdoor y'all way into white dudes. Pun intended. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Mr. Z out.